shows and stuff?
AXS.TV is a good one.
AXS.
Yeah.
.TV.
Yeah, I get a lot of information from them. If you buy tickets to any concerts, you sign up for like Ticketmaster and all that. They'll send you all the details about the concerts. That's how I find out from most of them. The LA Weekly is pretty. It used to be really cool. It's okay now. It's like a big weekly magazine that you get. You can find it like in front of Starbucks or a lot of businesses carry it through little magazines. It's a free, almost like a newspaper, but it's a magazine shape. And they'll have a listing of all the gigs coming up and ads for all the clubs and stuff like that. So that used to be the place to find out everything. But that's what it is. A lot of people don't have
Do you know any jazz clubs?
Actually, there's a really great place close by here called Big Potato. And Big Potato is a lot of great jazz guys play there. And actually, Danny Perry from Tool, the drummer from Tool, plays there a lot. He has a jazz band called Volvo that plays there all the time. But a lot of Scott Henderson and a lot of those really good, session jazz players like that. So Big Potato's doing another one. Another one that's over here too. So there's two of them. Big Potatoes.
It's got more of a quiet vibe than what you would find in Los Angeles.
It's really small. It's a really tiny little place. It's like the band's there's no stage. The band's set up. And but it's always like huge name musicians. It's always these big name guys, and yeah, and they're just like top notch musicians there every night. It's just people come down out of their house in the hills and go down there and jam. So yeah, that's a cool place. The vibe is really good there. Cover. I think usually it just depends on who's playing there, but it's never too outrageous or anything like that. Or something like that. They can pay there.
So Big Potato and most of the second ones.
I'm trying to think of what that other one used to be called that was around the corner. I think it might have closed down. There was another one that was a pretty good jazz place.
You ever been to New York jazz club called Snoop?
Oh no!
It's really good. It's like soul food as well.
Oh nice!
And it's pretty solid. It's like it sort of survived the whole gentrification process. And has kind of always been like a neighborhood institution. I really enjoyed it. That's why I went to school. So.
Nice. Very cool. Enjoyed a little bit.
It's so nice just to be able to walk out down a few blocks and just get great music.
Yeah.
Play that night. That to me was, I wish I appreciated more.
At the time, yeah.
It's such a luxury.
Yeah, I know. I haven't, like, I've been out here like 12 or 13 years, and there's very few times that I can remember even walking down Sunset where it's just like you just hear music coming out of every club, and bands playing and everything. There was a few times that I've seen that, but yeah, most of the time it's just it's a different scene. Well, go ahead and get started, and then what else shows up. This is just kind of my little introductory closing prayer that I do to set the tone for our space. And that's a picture of Hazrat Inayat Khan. He's kind of like my Elvis. He's the big inspiration for a lot of what I do. I'll talk a little bit about his stuff. So I'll start with the invocation. God the One, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the Master spirit guide. So what I wanted to share tonight was, I don't know, you guys know who Wayne Dyer is? Wayne Dyer is he's a spiritual teacher, doctor, philosopher. I think he got pretty big on his own right from books that he authored, things like that. And then I think he did some stuff with Oprah. She blew him up kind of bit, kind of thing. But he passed away about 2 weeks ago, and he was a really astute teacher. And I never really got into too much of this stuff, but there was a video that they were passing around after he passed away, and there was a line that he said in there where he said, "Don't die with your music still inside you." And I listened back to that a couple times. It actually brought tears to my eyes because I thought, what a deep statement that was. And what does that really mean to not die with your music still inside you? And I think that has a lot to do with what I teach. And what I really am passionate about is, expressing your music. And whether you're a musician or not, you can express your life as music, live your life as music, as an artistic expression of something divine. And so, yeah, I thought that was really striking. He said, don't die with your music still inside you. So I kind of wanted to just kind of read a few passages from this book, The Mysticism of Music and Sound. And again, this is kind of the book that got me on the Sufi path. And just to give you a quick little background on Hazrat Inayat Khan was a master musician. He was a really astute classical Indian musician in the late 1800s. And by the time he was about 13 or 14, he got like every accolade he could get by the government and things like that. He played for all these kings and was like a court musician. And his teacher told him to go to the West and to spread the Sufi message. And so he came over as a musician and did some music gigs and things like that. But then he became such a teacher, doing these speeches and things like that, lectures, that he became more known for his teaching, and he kind of put the music career aside. But he was a really incredible musician, and he just really relates all life to music, and all everything is its own note within the symphony of the universe. And I just thought that was like such a neat way of looking at life. So that's a little bit about him and kind of what got me onto this. But this is actually from chapter 1. This is one of the first things in the book, from the chapter entitled Music. And I'm just going to share a few little passages in here because it goes through the same thing that statement made about not dying with your music inside of you. What is your music, and where does it come from, and how do you discover your music, and that kind of thing. This kind of addresses that. Music, the word that we use in our everyday language, is nothing less than the picture of the beloved. It is because music is the picture of our beloved that we love music. But the question is, music, the word we use in everyday language, is nothing less than the picture of the beloved. It is because music is the picture of our beloved that we love music. But the question is, what is our beloved? Or where is our beloved? Our beloved is that which is our source and our goal. What we see of our beloved before our physical eyes is the beauty which is before us. That part of our beloved which is not manifest to our eyes is that inner form of beauty of which our beloved speaks to us. If only we would listen to the voice of all the beauty that attracts us in any form, we would find that in every aspect it tells us that behind all manifestation is this perfect spirit, the spirit of wisdom. What do we see as principal expression of life in the beauty visible before us? Is Is it movement? Is it line and color and the change of the seasons and the rising and falling of the waves and the wind and the storm? In all beauty of nature, there is constant movement. It is this movement which is caused day and night in the changing seasons. This movement has given us the comprehension of what we call time. Otherwise, there would be no time, for it is eternity. This teaches us that we love and admire, observe, and comprehend is the life behind, hidden behind, and that life is our being. Getting back to the music part of that. What makes the soul of the poet dance? Music. What makes the painter paint beautiful pictures? The musician sing beautiful songs. It is the inspiration that beauty gives. The Sufi has called this beauty Saki, the divine giver, who gives of the wine of life to all. What is the wine of the Sufi? All beauty in form, line, and color, in imagination, in sentiment, in manners. In all this he sees the one beauty. All his different forms are part of the spirit of beauty, which is the life behind, always blessed. As to what we call music in everyday language, to me, architecture is music, gardening is music, farming is music, painting is music, poetry is music. In all the occupations of life where beauty has been the inspiration, where the divine wine has been poured out, there is music. But among all the different arts, the art of music has been especially considered divine because it is the exact miniature of the law working through the whole universe. For instance, if we study ourselves, we shall find that the beats and the pulse of the heart, the inhaling and exhaling of the breath, are all works of rhythm. Life depends upon the rhythmic working of the whole mechanism of the body. Breath manifests as voice, as word, as sound. The sound is continually audible. The sound within and the sound without ourselves. The sound without and the sound within ourselves. That is music. This shows that there is music outside and music within ourselves. Music inspires not only the soul of the great musician, but every infant. The instant it comes into the world begins to move its little arms and legs with the rhythm of music. Therefore, it is no exaggeration to say that music is the language of beauty, the language of the one whom every living soul has moved, has loved. And we can understand that if we realize and recognize the perfection of all this beauty as God, our beloved. Then it is natural that this music, which we see in art as the whole universe, should be called the divine art. So just kind of going back over a couple of sections of that, I really like where he says, and this is kind of the nitty-gritty of what I thought really spoke to that quote. As to what we call music in everyday language, to me, architecture is music, gardening is music, farming is music, painting is music. So, for me, I work in a place where I do tech support all day, and I do a lot of customer service and sales, and it's not my thing. It's not what I'm into. But I try to see the music in it. I try to see where can I keep my rhythmic pulse on tune with where I want it to be, even though, this thing over here is a jarring rhythm against what I'm trying to do. So I try to really, seeing life as music has really helped me to see the different areas that I can kind of shift my focus or my attention a little bit to just really gel with something more, to be more in tune with my fellow man and my fellow environment. So that's kind of one thing I just wanted to express there. Many in the world take music as a source of amusement, pastime. To many, music is an art, and a musician an entertainer. Yet no one has lived in this world, has thought and felt, who has not considered music as the most sacred of all arts. For the fact is that what the art of painting cannot clearly suggest, poetry explains in words. But that which even a poet finds difficult to express in poetry is expressed in music. By this, I do not only say that music is superior to painting and poetry. In fact, music itself is religion, where music raises the soul of man even higher than the so-called external form of religion. But it must not be understood that music can take the place of religion, for every soul is not necessarily tuned to that pitch where it can really benefit from music, nor is every music necessarily so high that it will exalt a person who hears it more than religion will. However, for those who follow the path of the inner cult, music is most essential for their spiritual development. The reason is that the soul who is seeking for truth is in search of the formless God. Art, no doubt, is most elevating, but it contains form. Poetry has words. Names suggest of forms. It is music only which has beauty, power, and charm, and at the same time can raise the soul beyond form. This is kind of an interesting story here, a little bit of history. That is why in the ancient times the greatest prophets were great musicians. For instance, in the lives of the Hindu prophets, one finds Narada, the great prophet who was at the same time a great musician, and Shiva, a godlike prophet who was the inventor of the sacred veena. The veena is kind of like a sitar string instrument. Krishna is always pictured with a flute. There is a well-known legend of the life of Moses, which tells how Moses heard a divine command on Mount Sinai in the words "Musicae." Moses heard, or Moses pondered, and the revelation that thus came to him was tone and rhythm. He called it by the same name, Musicae, which such as music or music had come from the word. David, whose song and whose voice had been known for ages, gave his message to the world in the form of music. Orpheus of the Greek legends, the knower of the mystery of tone and rhythm, had thought his knowledge power over the hidden forces of nature. The Hindu goddess of learning, of knowledge, whose name is Sarasvati, is also pictured with the Veena. What does this suggest? It suggests that all learning has its essence in music. Besides the natural charm that music has, it has a magical power that can be experienced even now. It seems that the human race has lost a great deal of the ancient science of magic. But there remains any magic, it is in music. Music, besides power, is intoxication. When it intoxicates those who hear it, how much more must it intoxicate those who play or sing it themselves? And how much more must it intoxicate those who have touched the perfection of music and those who have contemplated upon it for years and years? It gives them an even greater joy and exultation than a king feels sitting on the throne. Kind of skipping ahead a little bit to kind of some of the mysticism of it. The mystics of all ages have loved music most. In almost all the circles of the inner cult, in whatever part of the world they are, music seems to be the center of their cult or ceremony or ritual. Those who attain to the perfect peace, which is called nirvana, or in the language of the Hindus, samadhi, do so more easily through music. Therefore, the Sufis, especially of the Chishti school of ancient times, have taken music as a source of their meditation. By meditating thus, they derive much more benefit from it than those who meditate without the help of music. The effect that they experience is the unfolding of the soul, the opening of the intuitive faculties. Their heart, so to speak, opens at the beauty that is within and without, uplifting them at the same time, bringing them that perfection for which the soul yearns. So, he says, therefore, the Sufis, especially of the Chishti school of ancient times, have taken music as a source of meditation. So, I'm actually part of the Chishti order of Sufis. So that's where we do a lot of practices with sound. We do a lot of sound meditations. We do a lot of what's called wazif, which is sacred names of God that we talk about and we recite as chants and things like that. There's a lot of song and dance that's done. There's traditional Sufi music called Qawwali. And then there's, Drupad is more traditional Indian music. A lot of different types and variations of music in Sufism.
And a lot of times we'll just use sound without any chant and use that as a method of just enhancing our meditation. And I just wanted to share a couple of those points and read a little passage about how all life is music and how all things are connected in that way. And kind of lead us into a little bit of a sound meditation. And this will be a really basic, simple meditation. Probably take us maybe 10 minutes. And if we just basically, the idea is to really focus on the breath and really be present to your body, really be present to whatever place you feel something come up. And I'm going to give us a singing bowl tone to just kind of work with that. So whatever comes up in your mind, whatever comes up, the physical sensation, mental sensation, spiritual feeling that you have during that course of just focusing on your breath with the sound in the background, just let the sound kind of carry that and just be aware of it. It's nothing that, there's no deep meditation here other than just letting the sound kind of be what you focus on, and whatever comes up in that sound, just being aware of it. And we'll do that for a few minutes. this exercise really just focuses mainly on just connecting with sound, connecting with the energy of sound, letting it be an aid to your meditative moments, things like that. And yeah, just I encourage everybody to kind of go through the week and just kind of see where you can kind of see music in life. See where you can see not necessarily in sound, but in just a way that life has its own music. When I go hiking a lot, and I'll see hummingbirds, or I'll see hawks flying around and things like that playing. And to me, that's a music. There's a certain rhythm in it. There's a certain cadence of how it all comes together in nature. So I like to really see the music in nature, and that's a practice that I like to do throughout the week. It's kind of like a meditation to me when I'm on a hike, trying to see the music in it. And same with my job. Again, trying to find that rhythm, find that place that feels comfortable, and that I can stay even though disharmony is coming at me in a lot of directions and things like that. So, yeah, those were just a couple of thoughts that I wanted to share. Usually when we have a bigger crowd, we get into a little jam session. We do a little music, and stuff like that. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, or if there's anything that you want to discuss more, or if you want to try out any of the singing bowls or instruments, we can get into that stuff. And next Saturday, I have at the Yogi Tree. It's right down the street. I'll be doing a sound healing event where one person lays on the floor and we all do healing with intention, with sound around them. So that'll be next Saturday. And then I got a couple other events. If you go to ballisticmusician.com, that's my main website. All the information on there, previous classes and stuff like that. So that was the main thing that I had to share with you. We'll tip it on that. Usually we go into a longer meditation, but drag it out too. Is there any questions?
Focusing on the nose. So I know my body's not on the nose, like so I focus on feel my body, feel the sort of body. So I
Kind of moving around, yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, what, the sound vibration just opens. I know.
like that.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's okay. Just finish it. Oh yeah. Here, baby. What you doing back there? You want to make some noise? You want to play some instruments? No? There's plenty of food, plenty of goodies. Well, kind of about that quote that I got from Wayne Dyer that said not to die with music still inside you. There's some really good sections of mysticism and sound that kind of relate to that. So I shared some of that. So, more meditation.